The Grand Hall of Station Theta V shimmered with ceremonial light, soft blues, polished silver arches, and banners from over 30 civilizations. It was the first contact ceremony between Earth and the Galactic Concord, and every species was watching. Humanity, the newest addition to the galactic stage, stood at the center of attention. Captain Mara Vance stood alone on the marble-like platform. Tall, composed, and wrapped in the formal black and silver uniform of the Earth Diplomatic Corps, she surveyed the crowd with sharp eyes. She'd fought on 3 continents, commanded orbital fire missions, and survived the siege of Jakarta Dome. Compared to that, this was just talking. Except it wasn't. Floating toward her on an ornate hover disk was Seer Rocket of the Wildvar, a species of translucent-skinned, telepathic beings who acted as the Concord's mental adjudicators. The Wildvar prided themselves on being able to read any mind, from the youngest hatchling to the most hardened warlord. They called it the truth of minds. A psychic scan was their tradition, their judgment. And now, humanity's turn had come. Mara stepped forward without hesitation. She had volunteered. Earth's leaders hadn't argued. Rocket hovered closer, his elongated limbs folded respectfully, his soft bioluminescent glow flickering. "Are you willing, human?" he asked, his voice echoing inside her mind like wind over ice. "I am," Mara answered aloud. "You'll find we have nothing to hide." "Very well." Rocket extended a single shimmering digit, placing it gently on her forehead. The hall fell into absolute silence. For one heartbeat, nothing happened. Then Rocket screamed. It was a sound no translator could parse, a primal, shattering shriek of raw horror. His body convulsed violently, eyes flashing red and violet. He reeled backward, clutching his skull, gibbering something in a dialect no one could understand. And then, he collapsed. A burst of psychic energy flared from his body like a shockwave, sending nearby officials stumbling. His hover disk spun out and crashed into the platform with a metallic clang. The hall erupted into panic. The Wildvar delegation rushed forward, swarming over their fallen elder. Medical drones and mental stabilizers activated instantly. A security shield snapped up around Mara, who stood frozen, her hand halfway raised. "What the hell just happened?" she muttered, blinking. Her neural implant buzzed. Admiral Hurst, Earth's ambassador, was in her ear immediately. "Captain, hold position. Do not speak further. The Council's watching this live. They are stunned." "Yeah, that makes 2 of us." Across the hall, whispers turned into arguments. Some species started backing away, as if Mara were radioactive. A few of the more xenophobic factions shouted in alarm. "She attacked him. No, she's a weapon." Human minds are unstable. Inside the bubble of silence, Mara closed her eyes and took a slow breath. Her heartbeat was steady. Her thoughts were clear. She had done nothing, at least not that she knew of. Minutes later, the Concord medical team wheeled Rocket's comatose body out of the chamber. His eyes were still wide open, locked in terror. The ceremony was halted. Earth's delegation was escorted to their quarters under watch. Mara was immediately quarantined and placed in a psychic isolation chamber, a thickly shielded room lined with mind-dampening alloys. No one explained anything. No one dared approach her without containment. 12 hours later, the message came. From the fragments of Rocket's psychic field, recorded just before his collapse, the Wildvar had recovered one repeating phrase. Translated into Galactic Standard, it chilled every mind that read it. "They're not born. They are forged. There is no end. Only war. Only fire. Only the will to never die." The Council fell into argument. Was this a threat? A warning? A clue? No species had ever caused a Wildvar to break. Not once in galactic history. But the humans, they were something else. Earth's reputation as a rising power was now overshadowed by a new label. Psychic hazard. And Mara Vance, war hero and now suspected mental weapon, lay in her chamber, silent, alone, and waiting for answers no one seemed ready to give. The walls of the isolation chamber pulsed with a faint green glow, designed to suppress mental energy, dull emotional spikes, and reduce psychic leakage. Captain Mara Vance sat cross-legged on the floor, eyes closed, breathing slow and steady. She wasn't meditating. She was remembering. They told her not to think too hard, as if that were possible now. A soft chime preceded the hiss of the sealed door. Two figures entered, one human, one alien. Dr. Imani Rowe, Earth's top cognitive specialist, approached first, her coat bristling with neural scanners. Captain Vance, we're beginning the evaluation. This is Counselor Valen of the Crota delegation. He's here to observe. The Crota, a reptilian warrior race known more for brute strength than diplomacy, rarely showed interest in psychic affairs. Yet Counselor Valen looked calm, even curious, his scaled head nodding in greeting. Mara returned it politely. Let me guess. The Concord wants to make sure I'm not a ticking bomb. Something like that, Dr. Rowe replied, checking her readings. The Wildvar claim you caused psychic trauma so intense it ruptured Rocket's neural web. They're calling you a mind fire. Mara raised an eyebrow. Catchy. But Earth wants to prove otherwise, Rowe continued. So we're doing a full cognition mapping. Voluntary, non-invasive. Fine. Let's get it over with. They connected her to the mapping array, a spiderweb of light that hovered above her skull, reading brain waves, emotional responses, memory activity. As the machine hummed to life, Mara let her mind wander. The first memories it touched were sharp. The Jakarta Dome siege, smoke choking the air, her squad falling one by one. She remembered dragging a wounded soldier for 6 kilometers through rubble, singing old Earth hymns just to keep herself from breaking. That pain, raw but buried, flashed across the neural display. Valen flinched. Fascinating, he murmured. Your kind stores trauma like building stones. Dr. Rowe nodded. Humans don't suppress pain. We adapt to it. Stack it. Build mental walls with it. And what lies behind those walls? Valen asked. Mara opened her eyes. Everything that survived. Hours passed. More scans. More maps. Rowe traced pathways through Mara's mind. Memories of war, grief, hope, and the quiet steel of endurance. No madness. No instability. But something else emerged. A complexity alien minds weren't used to. Layer upon layer of internal defenses. Emotional mazes. Recursive logic traps. It wasn't chaos. It was fortification. That's why Rocket collapsed, Rowe whispered. He didn't just read your mind. He fell into it, and it didn't let him out. Just then, a Concord security alert flashed on the chamber screen. Unauthorized psychic contact attempt. Species. Wildvar. Subject. Human. Status. Failure. Result. Neural combustion. Another Wildvar, younger, had attempted to read the mind of a human maintenance worker in private. His mind had ignited in self-defense. The chamber went silent. Valen hissed. You are not merely immune to telepathy. You are toxic to it. Dr. Rowe swallowed. That wasn't a trained soldier. That was a civilian. What the hell does that mean for the rest of us? Mara stood slowly. It means we've been hardened. By centuries of pain, loss, war. We evolved to survive each other. Now we survive everything. Before anyone could respond, a new voice echoed from the wall speaker. Captain Vance, the Concord High Council has summoned you. Immediately. Why, she asked. The reply was chilling. Because Rocket has awakened, and he's demanding to speak to you. Rocket lay suspended in a gravity-neutral cradle, his once luminous skin dim and cracked. Thin streams of purple ichor ran from his eyes. Around him, psychic dampeners flickered in concentric rings, tuned to suppress any mental outburst. Yet his gaze was alert, locked on Captain Mara Vance the moment she stepped into the observation dome. For council observers stood behind a transparent barrier. Earth's Dr. Rowe, Counselor Valen of the Crota, a cautious Andari empath, and a skeptical Dvel philosopher. All watching, all recording. Mara stood before the Wildvar seer. You asked for me. I'm here. Rocket's voice came not through the air, but directly into her mind, slow, cracked like old glass. You must understand, I did not fall because you are evil. I fell because you are endless. Mara stayed still. What did you see? He shivered. A maze. No more. A fortress of memories. Not walls, but scars. Each one layered in fire and frost. I walked in as I always have, and I was consumed. She narrowed her eyes. By what? Your will. The chamber fell silent. We thought all sentient minds had soft places. Cores of vulnerability. Yours was not soft. It was molten iron, wrapped in silence, in songs of grief. Your people bury pain like roots and grow from it. It broke the shape of my thoughts. Dr. Rowe's voice came through the intercom. Then why ask her here? To accuse her? No, Rocket's gaze drifted upward. To warn her. He raised a trembling hand toward Mara. There is something in your mind. Something that didn't come from you. It watches from the corners. It is not human, and it knows me now. Mara's spine stiffened. What do you mean? Rocket's mind trembled against hers. I tried to reach your center, and in the deepest chambers of your thought, I glimpsed a shadow, not of your memory, but of old memory. A hunger, ancient, waiting, not from Earth, not from anywhere I know. It should not be there. Dr. Rowe looked alarmed. Mara, are you feeling anything unusual? Voices? Dreams? Mara's face was unreadable. No, nothing. But that wasn't true. She had dreamed, for weeks before the Concord summit, of burning fields, voices calling from inside iron walls, and of a dark sun rising above a battlefield she'd never seen. Valen leaned forward. If something ancient is hidden in human minds, how did it get there? Rocket shook his head weakly. It was drawn there, like a predator to firelight. Your species has walked through so much flame, it attracted attention. And what is it? Mara asked. Rocket's eyes pulsed once, deep violet. A mind that devours minds. One the Wildvar once helped seal beyond the psychic veil. We called it the deep hunger. It feeds on thought and hides within thought. Your labyrinth did not allow it in. But now it has seen a door. Silence followed. Then Mara stepped closer until her reflection touched Rocket's. You said it couldn't reach my center. It couldn't, he whispered. Because of you. Your strength. Your pain. Your kind's legacy. That is why I screamed. Not from fear of you, but from the realization that only you can stand against it. Outside, the Andarian path looked shaken. You're saying humanity is immune to this creature? Not immune, Rocket corrected. Resistant. Hardened. Enough to endure. Maybe enough to teach the rest of us. Dr. Rowe stepped away from the console. We need more data. Controlled mind-link trials. Human volunteers guiding alien minds into safe portions of their memories. Shared labyrinths. Mara turned. You want to walk inside a human mind? Fine, but I'll be your guide. Valen nodded. I will go first. The chamber shifted as the mind-link array prepared. A shared neural space would be created, a synthetic dreamscape, half Mara, half Valen. Alien minds would witness humanity's mental resilience from the inside. But even as the machinery powered on, Mara's thoughts lingered on Rocket's warning. Something had seen her, and she had felt it looking back. The shared neural chamber was a marvel of science and risk. Two minds tethered through a guided link, creating a space built from overlapping memories. When the array activated, Mara Vance and Counselor Valen stood not in a sterile lab, but in the heart of a reconstructed battlefield. The sky boiled crimson. Burning husks of ruined buildings stretched into the distance. Ash drifted like snow. Dead machines smoldered. In the distance, broken towers crumbled, bearing flags of long-defeated Earth enemies. Names like the Eurasian Coalition, the Orbital Syndicate, the Jakarta Combine. Echoes of humanity's darkest wars. But Valen stood tall among it all, wide-eyed. This is not fear, he said. No, Mara replied, her voice quiet but steady. This is what built us. Children ran through alleys carrying food packs under fire. A medic dragged a wounded soldier into cover. Civilians sang around a half-lit stove in an underground tunnel. Hope woven into carnage. Grit layered over sorrow. Valen stepped closer to one image frozen in time. A man shielding his family with nothing but his body, riddled with bullets. This pain would break most minds, he whispered. Mara nodded. But we carry it, and we don't let it define us. We make it into armor. Suddenly, the air shifted. The color deepened. The The shadows lengthened unnaturally. A new presence brushed the edge of the constructed mindscape, one that did not belong to either of them. Mara turned sharply. "That's not me." Valen's eyes narrowed. "Nor I." Then it appeared, a figure on the horizon, tall and featureless, darker than the smoke. It didn't walk. It drifted. Every footstep left scorch marks in the memory around them. Mara drew breath. The deep hunger, it had found a crack. "Sever the link," Valen shouted, but the machine didn't respond. The mental construct trembled. Reality folded at the edges. "You burn so brightly. Why do you fight so hard to live?" The voice came from inside Mara's mind, yet it wasn't her. It wasn't anyone. It was hunger given shape, a thing that fed on grief, fear. Mara didn't back down. She stepped between it and Valen. "Because we've died before. We've buried worlds. And every time we stand back up, you're not like the others." "No," she said. "We're not." The memoriscape shifted. The ruins behind her twisted into something new. A field of gravestones, each one marked with names. Human names, soldiers, scientists, martyrs, children. Each one radiated the warmth of remembrance. The shadow recoiled. Valen looked on in awe. "You turned death into defiance." Mara advanced. "This isn't a labyrinth. It's a forge. And we've walked through fire for so long that monsters like you don't scare us. You cannot contain me forever." "Maybe not," she said, "but you're not getting through me." Then Mara reached deep into the memory. Her father's face. Her first loss. The silence after Jakarta. All the pain she had carried. She didn't bury it. She unleashed it. Not as sorrow, but as a roar. Flames erupted around her. Not from rage, but from will. The firestorm surged, not destroying the hunger, but driving it back, searing the edges of its presence until it cracked like glass. The construct shuddered, then broke. Mara and Valen were pulled out, back into their real bodies. The lights of the neural chamber blazed white. Alarms rang. Technicians shouted. But both subjects were alive, breathing, intact. Moments later, the council convened again. Valen stood before them, no longer just a witness. "I saw it," he said. "The deep hunger is real. It rides thought. It seeks minds that break easily. But humans are different. Their pain does not make them weak. It makes them impenetrable." Mara stood beside him. Rocket, still recovering, added from his stasis bed. "She is the first anchor. The first one that force could not corrupt. And she won't be the last," Dr. Rose said. "We're beginning cognitive training. Human-led, defensive mind forging. For any willing species." The Concord had a choice now. Fear humanity or learn from them. They chose the latter. From that day on, humanity wasn't just the newest member of the Galactic Concord. They became its shield. And Mara Vance, once a soldier, now the first mind forge, was its flame.